Imagine this. You stand at a viewport, your breath fogging the reinforced glass. Behind you, everything you have ever known is gone. Every memory, every person Earth, our pale blue dot, is a fading memory. Your ship, a vessel carrying the last seeds of humanity, has traveled for generations across the silent, unforgiving void. Your destination? A tiny, unvisited world orbiting a star you've only seen in simulations. This star bathes its planet in perpetual crimson twilight. This is your new home. Or your grave. The ship's AI announces your arrival. Proxima C, Kepler, 186F. A world we haven't even discovered yet. It has a name, but it has no history. No stories. No songs. Not yet. Those are for you and the few thousand other souls aboard this ark to write. The weight of that responsibility is immense, heavier than any gravity. You are not just a passenger anymore. You are a pioneer, an Adam, an Eve, in a new potentially hostile Garden of Eden. The future of our species rests on your shoulders, and the shoulders of those beside you. No pressure, right? As the landing craft descends through an atmosphere of unknown composition, you peer out at the landscape below. So, what kind of star have we traveled all this way to find? It's a red dwarf, and it is nothing like our sun. The universe is filled with stars of all sizes and colors, brilliant blue giants, massive short-lived stars, stars like our sun, a stable middle-aged yellow dwarf, but the most common star in our galaxy, the humble red dwarf. They are the quiet, unassuming majority. For every star like our sun, there are at least 10 red dwarfs. They are the true stars of the show. Think of them as the universe's slow burners, small, cool, incredibly dim. Some are barely larger than the planet Jupiter. Some shine with less than 1,000th of our sun's brightness. Replace our sun with a typical red dwarf. Noon on Earth becomes deep, perpetual twilight. The sky turns a moody crimson, lacking brilliance but making up in longevity. Our sun will die in about 5 billion years. A red dwarf will sip its hydrogen fuel for trillions of years. Trillions! That's 1,000 times the current age of the universe. This lifespan makes them tantalizing in our search for life. They offer near infinite time. Life on Earth took billions of years to go from microbes to complex organisms. Around a red dwarf, life gets a much longer window to arise and evolve. Cosmic marathon runners, stable for eons, ultimate long-term real estate. Most common, longest lasting, so we look to them for our future. Because they are so dim, a planet must orbit incredibly close to be warm enough for liquid water. This region is called the habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. For a red dwarf, that zone is tucked very close to the star. So close that a year there might last only a few Earth weeks. That proximity creates a whole new set of challenges for would-be colonists. It's a cosmic trade-off. You get the stability of a long-lived star, but you have to live in its front yard. Living so close to your star has a profound consequence. It's called tidal locking. The same gravitational forces that cause tides on Earth would be so strong on a nearby planet that they would lock its rotation. Just as the moon always shows the same face to Earth, this new world would always show the same face to its red dwarf sun. This creates a planet of extremes. One hemisphere would be locked in perpetual daylight, under the unblinking gaze of a crimson sun that never sets. The other hemisphere would be trapped in an eternal frozen night, a land where the sun never ever rises. This is not a world of sunrises and sunsets. Imagine settling on a world like this. Where would you choose to build your first city? You can't live in the center of the dayside. The constant, unrelenting radiation from the star, even a dim one, would cook the surface, boiling away any water and making it a sterile desert. The night side would be just as inhospitable, a cryogenic wasteland frozen solid under a blanket of stars. Any atmosphere would freeze and fall as snow, leaving a near vacuum behind. Neither extreme seems very welcoming for a species that evolved with the gentle rhythm of day and night. Our biology is deeply tied to that 24-hour cycle. The most promising real estate would be in the borderland between these two extremes, a region called the Terminator Zone. This is a strip of perpetual twilight, a world where the red sun hangs forever on the horizon. Here, the temperature might be just right for liquid water to exist. It would be a world of eternal sunset, or eternal dawn. You could build your settlements along this twilight ribbon, a global city stretching around the circumference of the planet. Your entire civilization would live under a sky painted in permanent shades of orange, purple, and red. Could you adapt to a life without a proper day or night? Farming in such a place would be a monumental challenge. Plants on Earth evolved to follow the cycle of sunlight. Here, there is no cycle. On one side of your settlement, the sun is always just above the horizon. On the other, it's just below. Perhaps you could grow crops in vast enclosed greenhouses, using the constant but weak sunlight from the day side of the twilight zone. Or maybe you'd have to rely on artificial lighting, powered by geothermal energy from the planet's core. Or vast solar arrays aimed at the eternal sun. Forget seasons. Your calendar would be dictated not by the planet's orbit but by your own manufactured schedules for sleep, work, and rest. It's alien. Utterly and profoundly alien. The light is strange, casting long, distorted shadows from rock formations that defy earthly geology. The plants, if that's what they are not green. They are black, or perhaps a deep shimmering purple, evolved to capture every last photon from their dim, red sun. There are no birds singing, no familiar hum of insects. There is only the hum of the lander's life support, and the pounding of your own heart. While red dwarfs are long-lived, they are not always peaceful, especially in their youth. Many red dwarfs are flare stars. They are prone to unpredictable, violent outbursts of magnetic energy. These flares can be immensely powerful, sometimes doubling the star's brightness in minutes. For a planet orbiting so close, this would be catastrophic. A single, powerful flare could unleash a torrent of high-energy X-rays and charged particles. Those particles and rays would blast the planet's surface with deadly radiation. Any life exposed would be sterilized in an instant. This is a very real, constant danger. Imagine your twilight settlement. The sky is deep crimson. An alarm blares through the colony. The red sun on the horizon swells white-hot. The sky flashes with unnatural brilliance. This is a super flare. You have minutes, maybe less, to reach a radiation shelter underground. Colonists caught outside would receive a lethal dose. Over millions of years, repeated flares could strip away the atmosphere, leaving a barren, airless rock. This is the temper tantrum of a tiny star, and you're in its line of fire. How could colonists survive? First line of defense? Prediction. A network of satellites would constantly monitor the star, watching for telltale magnetic activity before a flare. Early warning equals life or death. When the alarm sounds, everyone retreats to heavily shielded subterranean habitats. The colony would be a series of interconnected bunkers, ready to be sealed at a moment's notice. Life would include regular flare drills, like fire drills on Earth. Another shield, the planet itself. A strong magnetic field, a magnetosphere, could deflect charged particles, producing beautiful but deadly auroras. But X-rays would still penetrate. Maybe the best option is underwater living. Deep oceans provide natural shielding from radiation. We could build cities beneath the waves, looking up at filtered crimson light, safe from the star's fury. Assuming we find a way to deal with the flares, and the strange light, we still need a place to live. The first colonists won't be greeted with move-in-ready homes. They'll have to build everything from scratch, using whatever materials the planet provides. The first structures will likely be the landers themselves, cramped, utilitarian shelters against the alien environment. From there, colonists would have to expand. They might use advanced 3D printers to turn native rock and soil into building materials, slowly constructing the first permanent settlement, brick by alien brick. Every structure would need to be airtight and shielded from radiation. The location of this first settlement is, well, pretty critical. As we've seen, the Terminator Zone offers the most temperate climate, but even there the geology might be treacherous. Constant, powerful winds could blow from the hot day side to the cold night side, creating perpetual storms of a magnitude we can hardly imagine. Perhaps the safest place to build is not on the open plains, but inside natural shelters. Vast cave networks, deep canyons, could offer protection from the wind and radiation. Humanity might become a species of cave dwellers once again. Our advanced technology housed within the safety of primordial rock. The architecture would be entirely new, dictated by the unique pressures of this world. Buildings might be low and rounded to withstand the constant winds. Windows would be small, made of specialized glass that filters out harmful radiation, while letting in the useful frequencies of light for indoor farming. Cities might be built vertically, deep into the ground, rather than spreading horizontally across the surface. Main living quarters, schools, hospitals, would be in the deepest, most protected levels. Workshops and access points would be closer to the surface. It would be a city designed for survival above all else. And what about the psychological toll? Humans are creatures of the sun, our moods and health tied to its light. Living in perpetual twilight or deep underground could have profound psychological effects. Colonists would need full-spectrum lighting indoors to simulate the sunlight their bodies crave. They would need vast virtual reality rooms to remember what a blue sky or a green forest looked like. Entertainment, art, community would be more important than ever. Building a physical shelter is one thing. Building a home where the human spirit can thrive is another challenge entirely. You can survive for weeks without food, and days without water, but you can only survive for minutes without air. The single most important resource on any new world will be a breathable atmosphere. Earth's air is a rich mixture of nitrogen, and crucially, about 21% oxygen. It's highly unlikely that an alien planet would have an atmosphere that's perfectly suited for us. The air on our new home might be too thin, or too thick. It might be composed of gases that are toxic to humans like chlorine, or methane. The first breaths of alien air will be taken by robotic probes, not human lungs. The process of making the planet habitable is called terraforming. But terraforming an entire planet would take centuries, if not millennia. The first colonists won't have that luxury. They'll have to create their own breathable bubbles within the alien environment. Their habitats, vehicles, and spacesuits will be self-contained ecosystems, jealously guarding every molecule of oxygen. This oxygen would initially be brought from Earth, or generated by splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis, a process that, honestly, requires a huge amount of energy. Water, if it exists, becomes the source of life in more ways than one. The long-term goal would be to generate oxygen using biology. Colonists would bring tanks of Earth's hardiest microorganisms like cyanobacteria, or algae. These tiny life forms are masters of photosynthesis. They breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. The first colonists might set up vast enclosed algae farms, vats of bubbling green sludge that slowly enrich the atmosphere inside the colony's biodomes. Would you be willing to eat the processed algae bricks to survive? It might not be steak, but it would be the taste of survival, the food that literally creates the air you breathe. Eventually, if conditions are right, the colonists might try to release these microorganisms into the wider world. This would be a monumental decision, the first step in altering a planet's biosphere forever. They would start small, perhaps in a sealed-off crater, or valley. For generations they would cultivate these earthly microbes, hoping that they would take hold and begin the slow, painstaking process of oxygenating the entire planet. Your great-great-grandchildren might be the first to walk on the surface without a helmet, to feel an alien wind on their face, and to take a deep breath of air made possible by the smallest of pioneers. Beyond breathable air, the next great challenge is food. A colony cannot rely on resupply missions from a distant Earth. It must become self-sufficient, and that means farming. But farming on a tidally locked world, under a dim red sun, is nothing like farming on Earth. Our crops, wheat, corn, rice, have spent millions of years evolving under the bright, full-spectrum light of a yellow sun. They're tied to its daily and seasonal cycles. On a red dwarf planet, these crops would likely struggle to grow, if they grow at all. The light is not only dim, it's also of a different color, concentrated in the red and infrared parts of the spectrum. The solution lies in genetic engineering and new farming techniques. Before ever leaving Earth, scientists would have been working to create new strains of crops. These red light specials would be genetically modified to perform photosynthesis efficiently using the specific wavelengths of light emitted by a red dwarf. Your space-age potato might have black leaves to absorb as much light as possible, and it might grow in strange spiraling patterns to maximize its exposure to the low-hanging sun in the Terminator zone. The first alien harvest would be a triumph of human ingenuity. Given the challenges of surface farming, most food would likely be grown indoors using hydroponics, or aeroponics. In vast, multi-level vertical farms, crops would grow without soil, their roots dangling in nutrient-rich mist, under precisely controlled LED lights that mimic the red dwarf spectrum. This method is incredibly efficient, using far less water and space than traditional agriculture. The colony's diet might lack variety at first: nutrient-rich pastes, algae cakes, vitamin supplements. And what about protein? Raising livestock like cattle, chickens would be a luxury, as they consume vast resources. The colonists' main source of protein might come from insects. Crickets can be raised in small spaces with minimal waste. Mealworms can be raised in small spaces with minimal waste. Or perhaps the answer lies in labs, with cultured meat grown from cells without the need for a living animal. It might sound unappetizing to us now, but for a colonist on Proxima C, A cricket flower bar, a lab-grown steak, could be a delicious and life-sustaining meal. It's all about perspective. In our quest to survive on this new world, we must confront one of the most profound questions of all. Are we alone here? A planet in the habitable zone of a long-lived star is a prime candidate for extraterrestrial life. It's entirely possible that life has already taken root on this world, evolving for billions of years in the crimson twilight. This life would be truly alien, adapted to conditions utterly different from Earth. It wouldn't be a simple case of finding alien animals to hunt or plants to eat. The first contact with an alien biosphere could be the single greatest discovery, or the single greatest threat in human history. What might this life look like? Forget little green men, think simpler. The most likely life forms would be microbial. Alien bacteria could be lurking in the soil, alien bacteria could be lurking in the water, alien bacteria could be lurking in the air, and this is a terrifying prospect. Our immune systems have no defense against extraterrestrial microbes. A simple alien bacterium could be as deadly to a human as the most virulent plague. For this reason, the first colonists would live in strict quarantine. Every sample of rock brought into the habitat would be sterilized and studied with extreme caution. Every sample of water brought into the habitat would be sterilized and studied with extreme caution. Every sample of air brought into the habitat would be sterilized and studied with extreme caution. Every sample would then be studied with extreme caution. The first rule of astrobiology is, look, but don't touch. If more complex life exists, it would be beautifully adapted to its environment. Plants, or their equivalent, might be black, or dark red, using different pigments than chlorophyll to capture the star's light. On the Terminator line, they might grow horizontally, trying to catch the rays of the perpetually low sun. Creatures might have large, sensitive eyes to see in the dim light. They might communicate with bioluminescence, or sound, rather than visual cues. Finding such life would be a moment of incredible wonder, a confirmation that life is not a fluke unique to Earth. But it also presents a dilemma. If this planet already has a thriving ecosystem, do we have the right to introduce our own life forms? Do we have the right to terraform it, potentially wiping out the native life in the process? This would be a profound ethical question for the colonists to face. Are we pioneers, or are we invaders? Perhaps the best we can do is to coexist, to study and protect the native life, while carving out our own small, isolated niche. Our survival might depend not on conquering the world, but on learning to live in harmony with it. We have journeyed across the cosmos, from the initial desperate flight from a dying Earth, to the practicalities of building a new civilization under a crimson sun. We've explored the challenges, the eternal twilight of a tidally locked world, the violent fury of a flare star, the struggle for air, food, shelter. We've considered the profound wonder of discovering alien life, and the ethical burdens that come with it. The science is clear. Survival is possible. But it will be the hardest thing humanity has ever done. It will require courage, ingenuity, and a level of cooperation we have rarely achieved. But imagine the future if we succeed. Generations from now, a new branch of humanity thrives on a world orbiting a red dwarf. They are a people shaped by their environment. Perhaps their eyes have adapted to the dim light. Their culture is one of resilience and community, forged in the shared struggle for survival. They tell stories not of sunrises, but of the ever-present crimson glow on the horizon. They look up at the sky and see a different set of constellations. And when they look for Earth in their telescopes, they see nothing but a faint, distant star, a mythic origin point for their incredible journey. The discoveries of real exoplanets like TRAPPIST-1, a system of at least 7 rocky worlds, orbiting a nearby red dwarf, tell us that these planets are not science fiction. They're real. They're out there, waiting. We are living in the first moment in human history where we know other worlds exist. We're on the cusp of being able to study their atmospheres and search for the telltale signs of life. The journey we've imagined is closer to reality than you might think. So, now the choice falls to you. The Ark is ready. The engines are warming up. It's a one-way ticket, a promise of hardship and danger and the unknown. But it's also a ticket to a new beginning, a chance to be part of the greatest adventure in human history. Would you go?